Hello, sports fans and Bantersauruses. Welcome back to Banter with the Boys with me, your host, Nik Rabinowitz. As we approach the Betway SA20 finale, we bring you one final episode of this season's best banter Betway money can buy. But first, our weekly roundup of the latest developments from around the sporting universe. In swimming, former Olympian and current real estate agent Roland Schoeman has asked the United States to help South Africa, tweeting, "We need help in South Africa, urgently." Schoeman's plea has to be the funniest local sportsman tweet since Derek Hougaard encouraged Tiger Woods to dig deep, champ, in 2017. Shark star wing Makazole Mpimpi has once again been found guilty of eye gouging, this time in Wales. After pimping on himself, the Springbok flyer received a 3-match ban. Could he be following in the footsteps, or rather finger steps, of the great Skalkberger? Who can say, except former coach Peter de Villiers, who would probably have said,
"Why don't we all go to the nearest ballet shop, get some nice tutus, get a great dancing show going on, no eye gouging, no tackling, no nothing, and then we all enjoy it."
According to World Rugby, rugby might not be ballet, but it's also not supposed to be amateur ophthalmology. From URC to UFC, where Drickus du Plessis and Sean Strickland will once again battle it out, or as we say in South Africa, moer each other stukken, in Sydney this weekend, which begs the question, wat weet ons hierdie keer dat hulle nie weet nie? Of weet ons alweer dat hulle weer nie weet wat ons weet nie? Of weet hulle nog steeds nie dat ons weet, hulle weet nie wat ons weet nie? As always, it is my pleasure to welcome my two trusted colleagues, wingmen, side dudes, bantermeisters, sporting legends, and functional alcoholics, John de Villiers and Chris Morris. Chris and John, hallo manne. John, let's start with you.
Yeah.
Wat weet ons hierdie keer dat hulle nog steeds nie weet nie?
Ons weet alles.
Alles.
Yeah. But big one. If you look the last 2 years or so, Drickers have just, in terms of South African sports people, teams, we all get behind him, we support the guy.
I was hoping, and you were hoping, we'd be at Centurion for this episode.
Yes.
On the banks of the Yukskay River, where I believe you were conceived. Is that correct?
No, it's found.
Found.
Yeah. No, let's go. What a place. Centurion would have been nice. It is obviously the second qualifier. We're in this rather special place, which we'll talk about later, apparently. But good to be here, guys, eh? Drickers for the win, I think.
I'd love to see Drickers win.
Jean de Villiers, it was a painful night last night for Paul. I'm actually wearing this
The pink.
in commiseration with the Paul Royals.
Yeah, it was a tough day. I think they got outplayed. Mark Capton looked pretty bulletproof at the moment.
Yeah.
And fearless cricket. And the thing is that the internationals are performing.
Sunrise is making a late charge.
Stock standard.
But let's just talk about my Captain first.
Yes.
All-round performances, eh? So no weakness in that team. I think that's what you see. You look at the Royals now, Root not being there, the stability, Davy Miller a little bit injured. It's not looking that great at the moment. And then the team that has surprised every single year in the latter stages of the competition.
It's massive.
The champions.
Yeah, I think so. So I think it's sports specifically, but cricket, I mean, every team's like this in every tournament, but it's all about peaking at the right time. And Sunrisers somehow find the perfect time to start peaking as a team. They find the right combinations, they get the right players in, and then they click, and then they're very difficult to stop. Whereas my captain will be consistently good throughout the whole tournament. It'll be sad to see them, if they do go down in the final, it'll be sad to see that, but peaking at the right time is vital, and Paul Royals potentially could have peaked a little bit too soon in the tournament.
Speaking of peaking at the right time, Chris Morris about to make a return to international cricket. Have you heard the news, Jean de Villiers?
I have.
At
for
the tender
the
age of
seniors.
38. How are you feeling about this?
For the seniors.
Is it public? Can we announce it here on
We
the show?
like to call ourselves legends. Yes,
Legends.
I'm going to be playing cricket again in July in sunny England. It's in the Legends League. I don't know how my body
Why are
feels
you
about
playing
it.
then?
Sorry?
Why are you then playing if they're calling it the Legends?
Because Cullis and Boucher and all of them got injured. So, I'm
Just checking out, please continue.
string. And they've also trying to go for younger cricketers. So the way I'm going to bowl, I might not look young, but I'm going to give it a good go. But yes, my body hates me for it. But as you can see, as my athletic build tells me, I need to get back in the gym and start running around.
Give us some of your teammates for that one.
So Cullis, King Cullis, de Villiers. Abram Bangalore de Villiers.
Not funny.
Not funny, De Villiers.
No, not Fani. Fani's playing against the Bulls in another cricket game that I'm involved in, but we'll talk about that at some stage. Then we've got Henry Davids is coming in. Hashim Amla potentially might be
Oh,
playing.
nice.
Vernon might be playing. So there's quite a few. Albie Morkel. The return of the Berghond.
Die Berghond.
The Berghond. He's back in.
Sure, we'll get to more nicknames later.
So we've got
He's
a
back
few-
in after they were kicked out last night.
Yeah, he can now focus on his batting.
Are we ready for today's guest?
Yes,
I think
we
so.
are.
I'm so excited.
We actually have multiple guests on today's show. We have a cricketer, a commentator, and a rock star. And the great thing is they're actually all the same person,
Isn't he also a rhino conservationist?
possibly. Described as a combative opener with a punchy cover drive, a sure sense of his off stump, and a glaring weakness against spin, he was an English cricket mainstay of the late 90s and early noughties, playing in 71 tests, scoring over 4,000 runs, including 800s. Post-retirement, he's pivoted to insightful pundit, enthusiastic broadcaster, astute analyst, expert summarizer, and more importantly, talented guitarist slash singer-songwriter slash self-confessed sunshine spreader. Mastermind of arguably one of England's grandest fourth innings chasers. He's a Crystal Palace fan, golf tragic, and star of British reality TV singing contest, Just the Two of Us. Put your hands together for cricket rock star Mark Allen Santana Butcher. Welcome, Mark.
Lindsay Buckingham.
Beautiful. Lindsay Buckingham. Who's that?
You.
Me. Mark Butcher, what an honor to have you on the last episode of this season's Banter. And we chose this venue especially for you because it's not the first time you've been here in the last 8 hours.
Because you said
That couch over there.
It was that corner you spent a lot of time at last night.
Just, my last game of the SA20, so I had to come out and sample Katie's Palace.
And of course, a venue befitting English cricketing royalty, Katie's Palace, which I assure you at home is an above board establishment, even though it doesn't sound like it. I have to just say there has been some, I wasn't going to say this publicly on the show, but there has been some confusion. Jean, even.
Yes, Peter.
Jacques Fourie, wonderful Springbok centre as well.
Comedic timing on the main.
Jean de Villiers arrived this morning and asked me who today's guest was. And because there's been some confusion, do you ever get accidentally booked for Mark Banter speaking engagements in India?
There has been a little bit of confusion
Yes.
between myself and Bouch. Many years I had people tweeting me, hoping that my eye had recovered, and wondering where to send money for the rhinos. Yeah, so
For those people with the expectation that Banter was going to be on today's show, would you mind just giving them
What's this?
a little shout out to the
One foul.
to the South African Anti-Poaching Society, if you would, just quickly.
quit it now.
And just something about the
My brew.
something about it not working as an aphrodisiac as well, if you could do that.
Yeah, if you want the horn, don't steal the horn.
Brilliant, fantastic, and also a wonderful character. Not everyone sees eye to eye with him, but it is great to have Mark Butcher on the show. And before we really kick things off. The Betway SA20, that's what you're doing in this. You're here for the Betway SA20 in our lovely country. How has it been? What has been your experience of this competition compared to others?
I reckon the biggest thing is the crowd engagement. I think the way that people have kind of come, regardless of whether they're big cricket fans or not, the vibe at all of the grounds has been magnificent. It's easy to point at Rebecca, St George's and the band.
Could
and all
you just say the name of the Eastern Cape Stadium one more time, please?
Port Elizabeth. Incredible there with the band and the sea of orange around the place, but they've done the same at the Wanderers. Pal's been awesome. And just the sense of occasion for pretty much every game. The young and old people having an absolutely fabulous time. And, you know, along the way, there's a bit of cricket being played too, which is the point of the whole thing. But I reckon second only to the IPL, and the IPL kind of rules on every front, really, just because of the size and the scale of it. But in terms of that absolute joy of people coming to a game of cricket, it's right up there.
How does the PE band compare to the Mark Butcher band, which Eric Clapton has described as fabulous?
Fabulous, yeah. Good old Eric. No, God love him. There are more of them. I mean, I'd struggle to pay them if my band was that size.
Not that loyal. I saw them all in blue for the My Cape Town game as well.
Yeah.
Versus the Royals.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a bit, you know, why do they... Paul's closer to
It is.
Berga
Say that
than
again?
Cape Town.
Say Berga.
Yes, Port Elizabeth.
Well, the question we had 2 episodes ago was, what is it like commentating with people you actively dislike? And I forgot to ask Mark Nicholas, he once said of Jeffrey Boycott, who actually told an 8-year-old boy in Johannesburg, who is now a traumatized 60-year-old man, that he would not let him bowl to him in the garden in Houghton because never give thy wicket away. Mark Nicholas actually said he wanted to punch his lights out a few times. Have you ever commentated with the great man?
What, with Jeffrey? No, I mean, but I have interviewed him once. The long room at Lord's, big dinner, you know, 20-odd tables, 250 people. And he said, how many test matches, I'm not going to do the accent, how many test matches did you play? I said,
could you please?
Okay.
Could you? Yeah.
Okay.
I can't.
No, lad. How many test matches did you play?
That's very good. That's very good.
And I said, 71. I'm interviewing him,
Yes.
by the way. And he's turned the tables on me. He said, your father only played 1, and he could play. so that was kind of the interaction done. Wrapped up the interview very quickly and got onto the drinking.
Let's talk about your dad, because he is a member of the One Cap Club. Mm-hmm. But of course, a great county cricketer for Surrey, Captain Surrey for many years, and Glamorgan, I think, as well. Mm-hmm. And you had bat in hand at the age of 2, I guess. Chris Morris also had willow in hand from the age of 2, and then at 6 started playing cricket. But talk to us about some of your early heroes at that time.
That's pretty easy. So England-wise, it was Gower and Botham, both of whom I ended up sort of sharing a commentary box with, which was pretty special. Yeah, incredible sort of turn of affairs. Michael Holding, another one, who I ended up working with much later on, but he was sort of like the epitome of fast bowlers, graceful, deadly, the whole damn thing. And Viv Richards, who kind of I run into from time to time, whilst he's doing his sort of ambassadorial stroke managerial thing over in Pakistan in the PSL. And I have Jamaican heritage. My mother's side of the family is West Indian, so there was always that sort of connection. And of course, they were the daddies back in the 70s when I was growing up. So those were the guys I love to watch, and they're still, you know, you could argue that, particularly with somebody like Viv, still arguably the best player that ever picked up a bat.
Imagine him in T20s.
Yeah.
We actually had this conversation. There's one South African cricketer that would have made millions if he was 25 years old right now with the talent he had back in the day.
Lance Klusener.
Zulu.
Yeah.
Lance Klusener would have absolutely cleaned everybody up.
I don't forget Adrian Caper of the...
Adrian Caper was
Big Mac.
Mm-hmm. Brian McMillan was good. Yeah.
I've got a quick question for Butch, though, with what he just said. Like, when you commentated with one of those heroes for the first time, was there a bit of pressure with that? Did you feel, geez, you need to live up to expectations now?
Well, I mean, fortunately, the first time I did it, I didn't know any better. I didn't really know anything about it. It was actually here in South Africa.
Okay.
I was playing for England at the time, but didn't play in the white ball stuff. So I got co-opted to come and work on the 2003 World Cup. My first ever commentary stint was pretty memorable. In TV, I don't know about you guys, you seem incredibly professional. But what happens is, I went in, my first ever commentary gig, live commentary gig, I'd never done it before. So I went in, and on England's first game of that World Cup, I think it was against the Netherlands, right? Middle of nowhere, Kimberley or something. Went in, and I was, my name is first on the comms roster. And we only had 2 commentating at the time, which is the right way to do it. And the person who was with me is Donna Simmons, who was a radio commentator in the West Indies, a fabulous voice, female commentator. So we both sit down next to each other, and the first ball goes down, and I haven't said anything yet, and neither has she. Because I think she's leading and she thinks I'm leading. And neither of us had done TV before. And 2 balls went by, and the Australian director, a guy called John Gaylard, big red-haired, very frightening man, goes, "Well, why don't you idiots say something?" And that was it. There you go, commentary.
There we go.
That sounded like a Kerry Packer impression. I want to come back to the West Indies, but let's just first touch on your dad. You actually played against your dad. I believe it's maybe one of the first and maybe last instances in county cricket of a son-father playing against each other.
Javed, me and Dad.
That was Pakistan. 1991. Tell us about that match.
Yeah, crikey, yeah. My dad was captain in Glamorgan, and I was making my debut for Surrey.
As a bowler,
As a bowler, yeah. I was down to about 9 or
A
something.
la Kevin Peterson.
Absolutely, yeah, almost exactly the same. Kev and I, through the years. He could play a bit too. Jeffrey would have told me so. Basically, the game is pretty unremarkable until sort of we get down. We need 60 to win or something, and we're 7 down, and I walk to the crease for the first time, and the old man kind of greets me on the way to the crease.
How old is he at this point?
He'd have been, 91? 39, I guess.
There's still hope for, do you think there's still hope for Chris Morris at 38?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, look at him.
Look at him. Shining paragon
fine
of
figure
fitness.
of a man.
Racehorse. Father figure, not dad bod. It's a father figure.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. And I've heard that 3 times this week. Actually.
Yes, well, keep telling me I'm fat.
You've been rehearsing. You're supposed to be working, not rehearsing for this show. And so anyway, we're Surrey are losing the game. We're going to win, and I come out and get 48 or something off 22 balls. Smoked a few and whatever. Gets down to the last ball. We need 6 to win, and I'm sort of facing up ready, and the old man sort of steps in and stops everything and has a very long chat with the bowler and all this kind of stuff. And kind of, and now I've kind of, the moment's gone. I'm starting to vibrate a bit with nerves. Yorker goes in and I miss it, and we lose the game. It was just an extraordinary occasion.
Hold on a second. Did you not first smash 48 off 30 balls?
I smashed 48 off 30 balls, yeah. But we lost.
Modesty.
So the old man had a, he said it was one of his proudest days.
Does he still remind you?
Morgan win. His son gets a few runs.
Does ex-Zimbabwean coach Alan Butcher still remind you of that day?
No, he doesn't. I mean, he hasn't got a leg to stand on, has he? Because, as I said, I played 71, he played 1. So I win.
The stats.
Do you write that in the Christmas card every year? Yeah. 70 more. Merry Christmas. 70 more.
But to be fair, the fact that I did end up playing as many as that was entirely due to my dad, really. I was going to quit playing altogether around about sort of 2000 after the 99, after the Hansi Cronje tour. I was having a real rough time playing.
You just got Hansi for a second. There was a game at Centurion. Was it Centurion?
That's the one.
Hansi and...
The first innings got declared.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was there match fitching involved?
Most definitely. There was fitching, yeah.
Fidgeting? Sean Connery.
Why Sean Connery?
Yes, there most certainly was.
Did you have an inkling of it at the time?
No, but I remember feeling, Mike Atherton and I got on the bus back. It was Nasser Hussain's first win as England captain. So we lost the series 2-0. It was the last test of the series. And there was the whole shenanigans around forfeiting 2 innings and then South Africa setting us 240 or 260 or something to chase. And we win the game. Bizarre things happened during that run chase. Like we were going great and then we lost a few wickets. And we were kind of getting behind and running out of time. And then suddenly Hansi brought himself on to have a bowl and kept keeping us in the game. And anyway, we end up winning. That's a huge celebration, and we have a few beers in the dressing room, and everyone's happy after a pretty tough tour. But Ath and I, in the back of the bus on the way back to the hotel, kind of just sat there, like everyone's having a great time. We're looking at each other, going, "That didn't feel right." Not in terms of we thought something was up, but just simply it just didn't feel like a Test match win. It had been contrived to such an extent. And then obviously we found out later that it was, the point of it was that there couldn't be a draw. So that was where the fixing element came in, that everybody found out later, was that the reason that they kept us in the run chase, it didn't matter if South Africa won or England won, just that the match could not end in a draw, and then whatever deal had been done was fulfilled, and that's how the whole pack of cards came down.
I spent about an hour on that same tour hating you.
Why?
In '99.
I mean, I'm very lovable.
Because Gary Kirsten
Yes.
was on 275.
Yes.
The wicket.
One run away from breaking the record.
Yeah.
And Mark Butcher bowls him
Around his legs.
Around his legs.
Down his legs. He kept jumping across to play that sweet shot. That was
Hell of a bowler.
Hell of a bowler.
Oh, man. And then you still apologise when you got it.
Yeah, I was like,
sorry, mate. Sorry.
yeah.
You know what I always wondered about was how much money did you guys get?
For that game, absolutely sod all. Yeah, I mean that's one of the most. The other disappointing part about it was we weren't in on a cut. But sorry, how did we get there?
So you make your
dad.
debut, was it 97 you started playing for England?
97 for England.
And
yeah.
that tour was 99 to
Yeah.
South Africa.
Yeah.
And in between then you decided to marry one of your teammates' sisters, is that correct?
Okay. No. See, the timeline on this is
before that.
the timeline is very
Okay,
important.
no,
See,
it's
because
correct.
in order to get into the side, I needed to marry Alec Stewart's sister.
Yes. Is it true that Alex Stewart once said of you that you were a wonderful listener but didn't listen to him when he warned you about marrying his sister? Did he do that?
Oh man, I don't know. That might be an apocryphal story, but I do know that he very nearly punched me in the face when Alec never. So I was a silly boy, basically.
What year is this?
So we got married in 1996. I made my Test debut in 97.
Seven.
But Mike Atherton was captain then, so it wasn't entirely.
He put in a good word.
Vice
Vice captain.
No.
Was it?
And so during that South Africa tour of 1999, I was obviously married, and I had my eldest daughter, Alita, who's now 26. But I had an affair with another girl and got her pregnant. So while we were on the tour, my second daughter was born. So my life is falling apart. Now you imagine these days with the way that people kind of miss tours for whatever reason. I remember going to my captain Nasser was saying at the beginning of the trip, just after one of the warm-up games, when I'd hit a ball straight to mid-on, shouted no and started running, and got run out by half the pitch. I mean, my brain was all over the shop. So I went to Nasser and just said, look, you're going to have to send me home. I can't do this. This is horrendous. And he just said, you're not going to leave me out here with these you're staying. And so I was like, okay, great. Okay, good. And so by the end of that trip, I was pretty much done. I was playing really badly, relatively understandably, and kind of hating every minute of it. And then, a year later, at the end of the next county summer, I was pretty much going to jack it all in.
You were then. By then, you were in the Surrey second.
Yeah, playing second team cricket.
You're kind of drinking yourself into oblivion.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. And so I called my dad sort of around about New Year's Eve of 2001. I said, look, we'd never really done any work together before. It was one of those relationships. I don't know, like with your old man or yours, Chris, but there was never any sort of pushing from his side for me to go into the sport. I loved it and wanted to play, and so there was support, but never any sort of interference. And we'd never done none of that sort of throwing balls to each other in the back garden, anything like that, because he was 18 when I was born, so he was still very much in his career when I was a kid. And so what am I? 30, or just coming up to 30, 29, and I'd call him for the first time and say, help, come and help me sort this out, otherwise I'm done. And we spent the next 3 months sort of pretty much every day in the indoor school at the Oval with him rolling tennis balls at me to start with. He literally taught me how to bat again from year zero. I just said, look, I have no ego about this whatsoever, because it's so bad, you just do whatever you want. And so I let him coach me how to play as though I'd never played the game before. And after maybe 2 months, it started to go really good. At the beginning of the season came around, I was still playing sort of second team cricket, and then started to make a few runs. And by sort of June, I got back into the first team at the Oval. Got runs in a televised semi-final, got 50 over game. Ramprakash, Thorpe, Vaughan, all got injured on the eve of the first Ashes Test of that summer in 2001. And I got picked. And that was it. Picked about at number 3, played the first test, got a few wickets, got a couple of 40s, and then played 42 test matches on the bounce from there. Sure. And the old man called me after the Headingley innings, which is the 4th test of the series, the 173, and he's crying his eyes out. He said, they had me on the radio, and I'm in tears, and then I start crying. I've gone now. But it was entirely down to him that all happened. And the reason I'm sitting here now, actually, because if it hadn't been for all of that stuff, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now.
So my dad also played rugby. So similar to you guys, also played for Western Province, but never pushed me to play rugby. So I'm kind of listening to this from a son point of view, but also thinking from a dad point of view with my son, how cool it must be to get that call from your son to say, come help. I reckon for him...
I've forgotten how to intercept. Can you show me?
No, but like, I think for your dad, that must have been the best 3 months of his life. Spending time with you, and I'm sure both of you are very passionate about cricket, and that's such a cool story.
Yeah, I would have asked my dad how to carry drinks.
And that Ashes series, I mean, you come into that test, you're facing the likes of Glenn McGrath, Jason Gillespie et al.
Yeah,
and in that Headingley test, one of the greatest 4th innings chases. What were you set?
Until Ben Stokes came along.
Yes.
Yeah,
what were you set to win in that game?
315, I think.
315. Talk to us about. We can actually bring up that clip in a minute, but I think you actually hit the winning runs off Shane as well.
Yeah, Shane gave me a high five as I ran past him for the 1, 2, yeah. So I hit it for three backward point, and as I ran past him to complete the 3rd run, he stuck his hand out and just gave me this huge high five. It's kind of one of the coolest moments of my career, you know.
But he was always like that, though, wasn't he? He was always appreciative of good
quality.
Quality.
Yeah.
Like if someone played well against him, they always say, I mean, I never played against him, but the guys will always tell you that he'd be the first person to say, well played.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciative of good cricket, you know. Played hard, partied hard, but also just was appreciative of the actual game, and you love it to hear that from him.
See, I think the thing that separates people who are good and kind of, competent and decent professionals and all the rest of it, and those who are the great ones, are the ones who are able to kind of recreate that feeling of being completely and utterly impervious to sort of anything, even thought, It happens entirely on autopilot. You've practiced it, you've done it a million times, and you're not really feeling or thinking about what's happening. You're just reacting. And the guys who are the best at it can find themselves in that state a lot more often than everybody else. I think that pretty much it. And I found myself in that state maybe once. No, I mean it happened. It happened. I don't know, probably 20 times where you're playing that well that you just
and that's what you
automatic.
Crave, That's what you want. You want to be in that moment again, and it's not something you can bottle and say do this and you'll get there.
No.
And I suppose that's why you're always trying to get that feeling, but it doesn't happen that much.
You mentioned, I mean, it's extraordinary to have been at the rock bottom place that you were, and you've spoken a bit about the mental health challenges of cricket in particular, and how we have to be a little bit mad to play.
I'm going to throw rugby in there as well.
Mate, you have to be insane to play that.
Actually, it's something I did want to ask you as it relates to last week's guest. You talk about having to create a character in order to be successful at cricket. I think you may have said something like, I had to create being a massive... What was the word you used?
Probably Yeah, something like that. Yeah, that I didn't explain that very well, I think, at the time. It didn't mean that I was like not a good bloke to be around or in the dressing room and stuff like that. Always, team sport to me was really important, that you kind of pulled your weight in any way that you possibly could to try and help the team win. I was never sort of like a selfish guy in that regard. But I became very, very selfish off the field. I think I realised something, that my management of my own time in terms of getting what I needed to get, in terms of whether it be practice, whether it be sleep, whether it be no sleep, whether it be, just that whole thing around being a professional player, that I was very bad at it. And so what I decided was that I would kind of basically please myself off the field, and that would have, would not be particularly responsible for anything or anybody else but me during that time. And it worked for a while, but then I started to kind of eat myself alive with it, because it's not my natural personality. So it worked for a bit, and then it became very, very hard, and then I started to struggle again as a player. And if I had my time again, there would be a much better way of managing all of that, and perhaps lasted longer and been more successful overall as a player. But I had after my dad's intervention, I had three and a half incredible years doing the thing I'd always dreamed of doing.
Growing up with three sporting dads, there are quite a few legends that come through your house. Well, one of whom is the New Zealand captain at the time. Was it Jeff
Howard?
Howard,
yeah.
Uncle Kiwi.
Uncle Kiwi.
Did you guys, what legends did you have coming through Willie Morris and Andre de Villiers' house?
Well, hopefully not too many, when Willie wasn't there.
I mean, you just teed it up.
You teed it up.
No, I think we had Fonny de Villiers used to come over quite a lot.
Funny.
Yeah, my dad and Fonny were roommates. We had Anton Ferreira would come over a few times.
Yogi.
Pat Simcox, yeah. Yogi, pot blonde. Looked like a pot blonde.
Yes.
I was very young when my dad was still playing, so, but I can remember.
And then when your dad was away?
Well, that was away. That was a lot of milkmen. It's weird.
I want to talk about your mum for a second. She was also an elite athlete. Yeah. Apparently never lost at a parents' sports day dash. Is that true?
True, yeah.
And according to Twitter, Chelsea Blake's dad had a massive crush on your mum. There she says, my dad had a massive crush on Elaine, said she was stunning. Did you know that?
I knew she was stunning, yeah. I didn't know about her.
Do you know who Chelsea
yes,
Blake
I do,
is?
actually, because Chelsea is probably like a cousin.
A cousin?
Yeah.
Really?
Of some sort. And I think her dad's name was Alan as well, same as mine. But I didn't know about the crush thing, but I often wondered why they invited us around so often. Now I know.
The only English cricketer I've met prior to meeting you, Norman Counts, who organised me tickets to go to Lord's in 1993 whilst I was on a cricket tour. And
You've met Mark Nicholas.
Chris Lewis. Mark Nicholas, how many tests did he play for England?
One less than my dad.
And these guys speak about some very harrowing experiences with racism in cricket in the UK. You remain the most capped black English cricketer, the only one to have captained England, and now there's a real problem with representation, is there not?
Yeah, there is, and there has been for quite some time. I mean, the reasons for that are many and perhaps a little dull because they're so straightforward. In the sort of late 80s, early 90s, sort of funding for grounds, school grounds was cut, and a lot of the state schools had to sell off all their property, and therefore expensive sports and sports that took up a lot of space, like cricket, just kind of died out in those places.
Crazy.
And if you'd imagine that, you've got a private school or public school sector, as we call it in the UK, where they're fee-paying schools, and a lot of the kids like sort of Daffy, Chris Lewis, guys like that, they kind of grew up playing cricket in state schools, had the opportunity to play in schools that weren't fee-paying. And then, there were always sort of lots of people around who wanted to try and help them, get them into clubs and get them on the road to playing professional cricket. But without that in the beginning, if you don't kind of catch that bug aged, 6 or 7, and then don't really sort of see the game at all, then where is your incentive or where is your drive to kind of take it forward? And so we've got an issue. One of the great things about the SA20 is they're kind of trying to use the good that the tournament is doing to kind of push it out and make sure that people have the opportunity to play.
And fall in love with the game.
And fall in love with the game, yeah. But by being brought in, cheap tickets, all that kind of stuff. We still haven't quite cracked, the inclusivity of the game of cricket. It's say if you're, for example, like us, our parents were kind of involved in the sport that we ended up following. So if you grow up in a household where cricket's a thing, then you've got a chance, haven't you? If it isn't, and you have no other way of encountering it, either through your school or a local club or whatever it is, then the likelihood is if you're an athlete, you'll find something else to do, you know.
Yeah.
I always, parents come and ask me about their kids saying, oh, so-and-so's a talented cricketer, but he also plays hockey and he also plays rugby and he also, should he quit that at age 10 and just concentrate on the cricket? And I say, you mad?
Yeah.
You know, are you absolutely insane? One of the great things about the people who play this game the best is the way they move, right?
Yeah.
You think of AB de Villiers as an obvious example.
Last night.
Faf. The guys who, that sort of coordination, the ease of movement. Cricket's a game of many daft movements, really. A lot of sideways on, a lot of stuff you wouldn't do doing anything else. And you need that all-sport mobility in order to cope with all of the different movements you have to make. So yeah, play every damn sport. But if you're not if cricket isn't one of those sports that you get introduced to, the likelihood is you'll go off and you'll play something else.
I can't agree more with that statement in terms of playing multiple sports. Because you do some sports, and so in my case, you become a rugby player, but playing cricket makes you a better rugby player. And cricket teaches you skills that you can't teach in rugby specifically. You know what I'm saying? You know, hand-eye coordination, you know, catching the slips or whatever, or depth perception in terms of batting, those kind of things. So I mean, I can't agree more in terms of that. And then you start specializing at age maybe 14, 15, 16. Then you can say, okay, now I'm focusing on this. But up until then, do as much as you can.
What are your thoughts on South Africa's inclusivity problem? We're 30 years on from apartheid. We have a couple of bowlers of colour. We have a dearth of black batsmen. What has rugby managed to get right that cricket hasn't?
Opportunities. I mean, to his point again, rugby has been able to provide opportunities at grassroots level, okay, where you are now going to schools in the townships and whatever, but they're playing rugby. And if you invest money to be able to give them proper coaching, proper nutrition, etc., then those guys will come through eventually. But it's not something that happens in a year or 2 years' time. It's almost generational. If you do that now, in 10 to 15 years' time, you'll reap the rewards. And I think we're seeing that right now with rugby, where these guys coming through now, you know, it's not, you know, I hate it when you put a number to it and say, no, so many of these must play, and so many of these must play, and so many of that must play. Whereas now, you select the best, and it's representative of all South Africans. You know, so I think rugby is a great example of that.
The success of rugby now and the development of players coming through has a lot to do with the success of the national side.
Also that, yes.
So if you've got a winning team, and listen, this is what the SA20 is about. Now look, end of the day, it's the Proteas. We've men's, women's, ladies, or girl under 19 girls, they've all been in finals now, so they have been relatively successful. Yes, we haven't gotten over the line in winning a trophy yet. But
we just determine success differently in rugby. We win.
You won the World Cup, did you? All right. But anyway, so like I said, in the SA29, that's what it's doing. We're talking about the love of the game. You've got kids watching it now that probably wouldn't have watched cricket. And what rugby has done, and they've done it right, obviously with the success of the national side, when the Springboks play, the whole of South Africa stops.
Yeah.
And that's what you want. You know, and I think once South Africa cross that line, it will, and the reality is will never be as big as the rugby, because they are absolute lifeblood or the heartbeat of our nation. But once the success of cricket and kids start seeing how successful you can be as a cricketer, and that passion bites them, or the bug bites them straight away, that's when you start developing. And I think that's where rugby got it right. Obviously, the national side did really well.
You also have the thing that cricket has never solved, and I think that's one of the things that makes it such a unique game, in that you have to kind of be ready for the fact that at certain points during any game, even in the shortest ones, you're not actually doing anything. right?
Yeah.
Game for lazy people, perfect. But what I'm saying is the way that the game is kind of, you need a certain mindset to be patient enough to watch others do something that you're not doing at the moment and kind of wait your turn to go out there and do it. And also be ready for the fact that it might be over in one ball and you've got to go sit down again. You know, it's kind of, there's a quite a nasty element to the game.
Game for lunatics.
It is, yeah. Which is, you know, which perhaps leads us full circle back to the mental health thing. There's a heck of a lot of it. I don't know about the rugby game. It might be for impact reasons rather than for sort of like...
No, well, it is.
But no, I'm sure it is. But you know, the cricket kind of has a way of wearing people down. You know, I heard somebody describe it as this. You know, every time you dismissed, it's like a little death, and it's not the kind of little death that they used to talk about in French novels.
No.
Yeah.
But it's also, sorry, Nick, the difference, if you look at football, rugby, you know, other sports as well, you hardly have stoppages. With cricket, in between every ball, you get time to think about it. You get time to think about, if you're the batsman, you now think, okay, what did I do? What did I do the previous ball? Which is that ball that I missed? What am I going to do with this one? Where will he be pitching? What is the bowler thinking? So the mind games, I think, that is what eventually gets to you. Then you have just so many voices.
You recognise that's the voice you get in your head when you're playing bad.
Yeah.
That's that's exactly what's going through your head. When you're going great, none of that's there. Disappeared, gone.
A lot of the top guys actually now sing to themselves. I was speaking to Paddy Upton about this. Sebag, for example, I forget what his song was. Did you ever have a song before you became a professional?
No, but it would certainly be something that would happen out in the middle in order to kind of fill that space rather than filling it with nonsense and negative stuff.
Times there are a change.
Whatever the last thing was you heard on the radio on the way in the morning, it might stick with you. Brody was saying yesterday that Mambo No. 5 track that was, funnily enough, they played.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That's the one they played it in.
We're going to come back to that in a moment. But first, let's hear from the people who matter most, the specialists in cricket watching enjoyment. It's time for Banter with the Fans.
Back at Banter with the boys here at Centurion. Most valuable bowler of the tournament.
KG Rabada. Has to be Lutos Sipamla. Marco Jensen.
Gwena Mapaka.
Mujib from Bal.
Imran Tahir, because who doesn't like a celebration like that?
Most valuable batter of the tournament.
I'm always going to say Adam Markham.
Has to go to Rand Reckleton.
Bats of the tournament has been Lohandre Pretorius.
Brevis, I think he's got some good talent.
Who's the MVP of the tournament?
Lohandre Pretorius. For 18 years old, it's incredible.
You know what, Tahir, 45 and still cracking. My MVP would go to Rassie van der Dussen.
Give it to Faf du Plessis.
Marco Jansen, 100%.
I would say it has to be Chris.
I agree. What is the most uncomfortable situation you've had on Banter with the boys? Because I know there's been a couple.
Actually laughing at Jean de Villiers because he's not that funny, really. So that would be my straight answer to you.
I'll take that from the Murray. Yeah, man. Thanks, Carl. Appreciate it.
Chris, for some legendary banter with the fans there. What was the experience of the fans?
Inebriation.
Anything else?
Yeah, Centurion. We put them away and we can still talk afterwards, even though it's Swahili and lawnmower.
What were they talking about? Could you translate for Mark Butcher?
It was all in English, believe it or not.
Yes, I know.
There were a few. Quite a lot of fans, as our cameraman will tell you, of Mono Morkel, I thought I was.
Did you actually start your career, as we heard earlier, as a medium pacer?
Yeah. Well, it was the easiest way to get into the team was to bowl a bit.
Yes. Tell us about your
Bowl a bit,
greatest,
bat a bit. It's the easiest way to get
your greatest ever bowling antics.
Oh, geez.
Feats, shall we say.
I was on a hat-trick against Australia in a test match at Edgbaston.
Damien Martin, Brett Lee, who was going to be the hat-trick?
Damien Martin.
Ian McGrath.
Then Nick Toff.
And you
Brett
didn't get
Lee.
it?
No. So it must have been Brett Lee. Outswinger Brett Lee, caught Atherton slip. Inswinger first ball, Gillespie, stone dead LBW. And I'm standing at the end of my mark and I've got Glenn McGrath in front of me. I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God, please. And I'm weighing it up. Should I go inswinger? Should I go outswinger? I'm thinking, I had somehow, they were 400 and something for 5 when I came on. So the game's almost done anyway. And somehow I got the ball moving around and nobody else had done. So now I'm thinking, geez, hat-trick, my first game back after being out the team for however long. And went for the outswinger, and of course Glenn missed it, didn't he? I mean, it was the worst ball to bowl to somebody who can't hit the ball, was one that he had to hit. So no hat-trick, but I remember going down to the Holly stand at Edgbaston, which back then was still a corrugated tin roof. So the sound coming out of there was just out of this world. And, you know, just goosebumps, just walking down there as a bowler, waving my cap like I was bloody like Fred Truman or something.
Let's talk about retirement. Your last game you play in South Africa, is that correct?
Yeah, last test was in
2004.
Yeah.
Who ended your batting career?
Dale Steyn, I think.
That would have been my
Yeah,
guess.
Dale Steyn.
Great.
I think I dragged one on inside edge bowled for an incredibly boring 12 or something.
Yes.
And that was the last time I played
Test cricket,
yeah.
but then you come back for a last hurrah in county cricket. I think it was 2009. And you said you came back for 3 games because there was nobody else.
Yeah, well, so I was captain of the club 2005, I think. 2005 when the Ashes won, when England won the Ashes for the first time in 19 years.
And how did you feel watching them win?
Well, I mean, that whole series was pretty incredible. If you're in England, I'm guessing, you know, as a cricket fan, time difference here is no different. So it was it was a pretty cool series.
It was good.
And so, like everybody else, I was kind of all swept up in it. But then I remember seeing them the next day, all pissed out of their heads on that double-decker bus, you know, going towards Trafalgar Square. And then I got a lump in my throat and thinking, because it was injury that kind of that ended my career. I mean, arguably, I might not have got picked in the Ashes in 2005.
A wrist injury.
Yeah, the little triangular cartilage in between the ulna and the radius, yeah, and it popped. And it got misdiagnosed, and the first operation went very badly. So I missed best part of a year's cricket, including that Ashes series. Now, as I said, I may not have got picked, but I would at least have had a chance to have been involved had that not happened. So yeah, I was absolutely gutted. I remember being absolutely gutted. And the one thing, I guess, at the end of when I left the South Africa tour, because pretty much when they decided that that's it, you're not going to play any further part, I was on a plane like 2 days later. And from that minute onwards, I was completely and utterly, having been in the team for 3 years on the bounce, 3.5 years on the bounce, you're just gone, you're out.
Yeah.
And it's no fault of the guys who are in the team, you know, life rolls on and all that kind of stuff, but you kind of, these people that you spent all this time with, travelling, you know, touring with and playing umpteen test matches, all of a sudden you're no longer part of that, and it's completely cut off.
And you feel a million miles away
so far away from it.
You feel...
And it's very strange. I mean, Simon Jones, the great Welsh quick bowler who had the horrendous knee injury in the Ashes back in 22-3. He came because he remembered that I'd gone down to see him when he got sent off after smashing his knee to bits in Brisbane, and I saw him off. And he was the only guy I think who came to see me get in the taxi to go out to the plane. And then I remember, I think something similar happened to Ashley Giles later on after I'd been out of the team for ages. And I remember picking up the phone and saying, "Hey mate, you know, bad luck. These things happen." Because those types of things stick with you. That you kind of felt like you'd just been dropped by all your mates, which was not the case, but that's how it felt. Yeah.
It's like being removed from a WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
That was always
almost exactly.
So you joke like in the modern day era. That's what it's like. You're on a WhatsApp group with the full squad, and then
you're not.
A lot of the times before you get the phone call saying you're not in, you're just removed from a WhatsApp group.
Before the phone call.
So it happens a lot, believe it or not. It happens before you get the call. You'll get removed from a WhatsApp group, and all of a sudden you'll go, "Oh."
That's it.
And then it's the opposite. Sometimes you get added to a WhatsApp group before you've got the phone call, and you're like, I'm in. You know what I mean? And
I'm playing with the legends.
You know, I'm in with the legends. Yeah, Carlos messaged me again. But you know what I mean? So like it's genuine, and that's the only way you can describe it. It's literally like you're just removed.
Yeah.
Gone.
Jean de Villiers,
yes,
experiences
Nik
of being out in the
Rabinowitz.
cold?
What's that?
Experiences of being left out in the cold?
Yeah, mine was always injury related. So like...
Did you do the wrist one as well?
I did. I had my scaphoid lunate ligamentous off, and then I had 6 knee ops and shoulder reconstruction. Broke my jaw twice.
Who hit you in the jaw? You were saying earlier, someone hit you.
Ruotepoki.
Did that break or it didn't break the jaw?
It didn't break my jaw.
But tell us about that.
No, he hit me. There's a lovely photo on the internet.
Yes, let's take a look at that.
My cheek just opened like that. Eye open, lost a tooth. And then, so I was in the wrong. Okay, so I pulled him back. They had a line break. He was supporting. I pulled him back, and as I pulled him back, he turned around, boom, on the run.
You just pulled him. That's all you did.
You
didn't gouge an eye. Nothing.
No, just by the shirt, just a little
little tug.
And
That'll teach him in football, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And then very
Shirt
quickly,
pulling in
boom,
corners.
the Villiers out on the floor.
Were you dorsing?
Yeah, dorsing. Then stitched up, back on the field,
So you
open
got
up
knocked
again.
out and you went back on.
Yeah,
Nice.
back in the day. Eh?
How soft are we cricketers?
We, you said.
Yeah.
Yes, I also picked up on that.
I have an international cap.
They gave it to you.
Did you borrow it?
The South African Jewish gold-winning team of 2013.
Right, we shouldn't mock.
We beat
But we will.
we actually defeated the Indian Jewish cricket team in the Hindus
Hindus.
by 10 runs.
Would you like to tell us more about that experience?
No, I would not. I mean, I could, but I don't think the fans
No, they do.
will be that
They
interested.
do want to know more.
Let's talk post-retirement. People, and this applies to different sporting codes. Your dad coached for a long time. Your dad actually coached Zimbabwe.
Yep.
Can't wait to read this autobiography, The Good Murungu,
Yeah.
a cricket tale of the unexpected. And you actually last year, the National Cricket League of the USA announced you as their new head coach in this tweet. Chris Morris, you ever see this?
Butcher, yes.
Yeah, Mark
I was
Butcher.
on air at the time.
Were you?
I was on air commentating at the Oval, I think. And the news came through, and it was going, well, that's news to me. Excellent.
Being
Of
added to the
course, it
WhatsApp
was-
group,
it was
right?
Bouch.
You got added to the WhatsApp group. Yeah.
Do you ever get to the bottom of that?
It was Bouch. But that, I mean, they
was
used
Mark Boucher.
It is Mark Boucher.
They even used my middle name and a photograph that was clearly me. Not the half and half thing that happened in Pakistan a little while ago, where they'd obviously realised the mistake when I arrived at the hotel, and so there's Bouch's body in a Proteas tracksuit, and I mean, I had a really good rig, to be honest. I have to thank Bouch for that, but they'd stuck a cutout of my head on top of Bouch's body on this thing.
We'd like to bring in the golden microphone now and give you the opportunity, Mark Butcher, to commentate on this silent movie of this incident
Right.
that happened in Paarl on the 23rd of January.
Well, looking pretty relaxed and calm there, in company with somebody who's very graciously dressed, much better so than himself, but still he looks like he's all business today as he wanders down the meat aisle and is steely-eyed in his selection. Meanwhile, there has been a little bit of an intruder coming in through the back door, something that Mr. De Villiers is not entirely happy with. He seems to react quite badly to anybody fishing around that back area, looking over his shoulder, checking around just to see if anybody on the field is paying any attention to what he's up to. There comes Mrs. D. Villiers. She is looking absolutely smoking, and she looks as though she's got some sort of an idea as to what this scallywag is up to. The bag is starting to bulge, and here comes our hero. Hands full of meat. Shame that we haven't got one or two more in the store to witness this magnificent occasion, but still the atmosphere is electric as the intruder makes his way out of the store. Here he goes. A bit of biffo. He is accelerating. Look at the turn of speed on this man. If only the cameras were quick enough to capture it. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that is technique of the highest order. Not a complaint as the man makes his way sullenly off the field of play, only to be intercepted by the store owner, who now is going to hopefully give him 6 of the best. What a hero, what a play, the man, the legend, Yanni De Villiers.
With my wife.
That was very
Magnificent.
good.
Let's give it up for
For someone who hasn't watched that before.
Mark Butcher.
When I struggle to sleep at night, I watch that just to know I'm safe.
In fact, for the best commentary of the season, the Banter Cup goes to Mark Butcher.
Look at it go. Yes, Butch.
Congratulations.
Mark Butcher, your nicknames, any favourites?
Basil was always quite
Basil?
Good. Yeah.
From
I was
Faulty Towers?
nicknamed Boozer at school.
What? Why?
Were you a boozer?
Not when I got the nickname, which was around about 7.
You were just drinking shandies back.
Yeah, it's just shandies. And then Basil, because there was a famous or slightly famous West Indian cricketer called Basil Butcher back in the day.
Chris Morris, give us some of your favourites.
I know the famous one that we all talk about, that a lot of the cricketers, and we're talking about the king again, Cullis, they used to call him Woogie. So if you watch something about Mary, Dom Woganowski, and he had a girlfriend and he started a rash on his neck, so they started calling him Woogie. Yeah, it's not a rash, it's hives. He was a funny one. We had a guy in Australia, Nathan McAndrew. His nickname was Atna. Because whenever he'd go, he was this strong, burly, good-looking dude, beautiful, shaved beard. But every time he'd go to a girl, nothing would happen. So he was nicknamed Atna, which is all talk, no action, which is always good. That stuck quite well.
Alan Lamb?
Alan Lamb, Fiskop.
David Miller?
Fiskop means fish head, so we're not going to divulge this too well. Okay. David Miller, so he had 2 nicknames. I dubbed him Frog on a Rock.
Because?
It looks like it's sitting on a rock.
Oh.
And he had one at school called Masendes. Can you please divulge what this Masendes means?
Masendes. Quentin de Kock?
Quentin de Kock, Saki de Kock.
And Biff, where does...
I don't know where...
No, Biff comes from Buffle. Buffle.
What do you call it? Buffle.
Buffle. They call it Buffle.
I know Dale Steyn.
Justin Kemp gave him the nickname.
Dale Steyn knows, everyone knows Dale as Julio, because Ashwell Prince, they used to call him, they used to go, come on Dale, Daleo, come on Daleo. And Ashwell Prince, I think it was, when Julio, and it stuck from there, so everyone knows him as Julio. Yes?
Jean de Villiers, Springbok teammates of your era?
Barney
Smith.
John Smith.
Yep.
Barney the barfly.
Barney. Butch. James.
Butch James. This is our second Butch on the show.
Yeah.
Mark Butcher, speaking of pivoting, you are not the first cricketer to go into the music industry or pursue a musical career. Name a couple of other cricketers who've dabbled in music.
A.B. de Villiers.
Yes.
Brett Lee.
Shane Lee.
Curtly Ambrose.
Other West Indians.
Richie
Richardson and Curtly had a band together.
Yeah. Chris Gale, must have.
DJ Bravo.
Of course.
Henry Olonga.
Oh, great video in Australia.
Graham Swan.
Oh, please, no.
Dabbler. Andre Russell.
Yes, definitely.
Name
Curtly
Curtly and Richie Richardson's band. Can you remember the name of the band?
No. Curtly was the bassist, that's what I can tell you.
The Big Bad Dread.
Yeah.
And the Bald Head.
Yeah.
Yes. Ambrose played bass, wasn't it?
Yeah, Richie played guitar. Yeah.
Richie played rhythm guitar. During the 1930 tour of England, Sir Donald Bradman recorded in the Columbia Record Studios. Did you know this?
I did not know this.
He played Old Fashioned Locket and Our Bungalow of Dreams as a solo pianist.
Our Bungalow of Dreams.
Jean de Villiers, I don't know if you saw Mark Butcher's incredible performance on Just the Two of Us. In what year was that?
Oh my God, 2007.
2007. Yeah. People raved about your chemistry with Sarah Brightman.
Yeah.
And some said that you paired so well because you reminded her of the original Phantom of the Opera. Is that true?
Absolutely.
Okay, so last week we had an air guitar contest. This is our first winner. I think that may have been something from the Rolling Stones. Elvis. That was Elvis. That was Elvis Nicholas.
Nice.
And is that how it all began, with air guitar?
And tennis racket. My old man gave me a load of original Beatles LPs and one of those, suitcase record players when I was 8 or something. And so I just danced around the bedroom with a tennis racket, pretending to play the guitar. And
did you teach yourself to play guitar as well?
Yeah. I got my first real 6-string. I was probably about 12, I reckon. Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah.
And
But always sang in school stuff and all that kind of thing.
Yes. School stuff, and then it progressed. Cricketing, touring, you had your guitar with you on lonely nights.
Yeah, I mean, very lonely.
There's nothing
Very
better
lonely.
than that, though. If you have someone with a guitar,
that's
seriously,
right, spot on.
tour,
Yes.
someone, you have a couple of drinks maybe, someone pulls out the guitar, plays.
You have a
there's nothing better than
concertina
that.
on the tour of the box.
Hey, get some spoons going, get the drums going.
Yeah. Who played drums in your team?
No one. But it would be cool.
It's difficult to carry around.
You actually famously said, I'd much rather be known as a great guitar player than a great batsman.
Did I?
Were you under the influence when you said that?
Yeah, I mean, look, both of those things are out of the question, so you're allowed to dream about things, right?
We do have some requests. Chris Morris was actually sitting next to you on the couch you were playing earlier, and if he'd had a bra, he would have removed it and thrown it at you. As we play out this final episode of season 4 of Banter with the Boys. Ladies and gentlemen, here for the very first time to perform for us against his will, Jean de Villiers. Please introduce him.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in Johannesburg, South Africa, England opening batsman, guitar hero, Mark Butcher! Hey!
I wouldn't say I was past my prime, but I'm too old for wasting time. I had no say in how you lived yours, so stop fooling around with mine. I can show you the setting sun, and the curve of the earth brings a smile. No need to tell you he's not the one, for the knowledge you hold is worthwhile. And if you can feel your brother's pain, and your sister is just as in tune, even when you're let down again and again.
Come on, boy. Sing it, brother.
Just be natural to yourself and take good care of your health. Don't burn
You hear that, Chris?
down.
Yeah!
Why the
Out of the guitar, Butcher.
Na, 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 na. Ladies and gentlemen, one of cricket's greatest rock stars, certainly not past his prime on the guitar, it's Mark Butcher!
Keep going.
I gotta get out front anyhow.
His new album, Always Somewhere, available everywhere from Cherry Red Records on CD, LP, cassette, and iTunes, as well as sheet music, wax cylinder, gramophone LP, and Braille script video. One more time, Mark Butcher! Join us next season on Banter with the Boys. For now, goodbye.
When you're let down again and again, so don't burn the whole thing down.